What's up, party people? My name is Nicole with Sonar Sewing Patterns. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a hard left off of the content that I usually bring to you. You've probably gathered that by the title of the video, but Brandon and I decided to torture ourselves a little bit when celebrating our anniversary. So we just celebrated our 2-year wedding anniversary and our 14-year cumulative anniversary, and we decided to go out on the Appalachian Trail. We were supposed to go last year and then Hurricane Helene happened, and so for obvious reasons we couldn't go. So yeah, we decided let's just do it. If you're here to watch about the section hike and particulars with that, I'll give you some of the specifics here in the intro, and then the video is just kind of like a recap of our trip. And if you're here because you're one of my regular followers and you want to see what the hell I got into this last weekend, then stick around because it was fun. I have this guy right here and he is like annoying me. He's getting me off track. All right, so if you're here for the specifics, here is that breakdown. We hiked from October 5th to the 7th of 2025. The weather was perfect. We did keep a close eye on the forecast because it was calling for rain about 10 days out. And every day as we got closer, it got to be less and less of a percentage. And we did have a couple of times where we would feel some drizzle, but nothing that warranted a rain jacket or covering our packs. So first day, we started out Max Patch parking lot. We took a shuttle. There are lots of places that you can get shuttles from, but we called Bluff Mountain and they gave us a list of people to call and I worked my way through. Our shuttle driver's name was Matt. We paid him $50 for both of us and he drove us from Hot Springs from the trailhead. So we parked our car at the trailhead in Hot Springs and then he picked us up and we were dropped off in Max Patch. Now a note, there is no phone service in Hot Springs. So make sure that you're screenshotting your directions or that you have previously confirmed your plans with your shuttle driver, because as soon as you pull into Hot Springs, no dice. And nothing's open. It's kind of weird. I started my watch in the parking lot at Max Patch. We hiked to the Max Patch Bald, which was just about a mile. And something that I did not know is that you start out by going straight upstairs. And I was not expecting that. So yeah, be prepared for that. I was winded within the first 10 minutes of the hike, which was humbling and a forecast of what was to come. So that first day, we hiked 8.04 miles and we got from the Bald at Max Patch all the way to Walnut Mountain shelter area. We spent the night there. And then next day we left Walnut Mountain and we hiked to Deer Park and it was 9.9 miles. It was very strenuous. And then the last day we woke up, got ready, took it nice and slow because we were walking into Hot Springs and it was only 3.13 miles from Deer Park Shelter into Hot Springs, or to the trailhead where the car was. When we got off trail, we went to the brewery. It's called Big Pillow Brewing and they had lots on their menu. It was so yummy. And then we also went down and hung out by the river while we waited to get into our Airbnb. There are lots of places for water on the trail, and if you download the Far Out app, you need to purchase the Tennessee-North Carolina trail in order to access that set of maps. We had not done that, so we just kind of went in blind and hoping for the best, and it worked out. It was totally fine. Like I said, there are lots of places to stop and get water along the way, but we also did see several that were dried up, and it was a little bit nerve-wracking at a couple different points because we didn't know where the next water source was. And yeah, winging a prayer in a couple of those moments. As far as shelters go, I go over this later, but there is no more shelter at Walnut Mountain. They took that down in March of 2025. The shelter at Deer Park is fantastic. It has a privy, the shelter, and bear boxes, and it's really nice and serene and kind of up on a little mountaintop. And that was it. Those are the only two that we stopped and ate at the very first one that you pass whenever you're going from Max Patch to Walnut Mountain. We didn't camp there because that was only a couple miles in and we didn't want to stop that early, but we did stop there and eat lunch, and that one was nice and also had a bear box and shelter and all of that, and it was kind of down in a little gully and it was nice and shaded. As far as wildlife goes, we did not see anything that was scary at all. No bears. We did hang our food at Walnut Mountain and then we put it in the bear box at Deer Park, but we didn't have any run-ins with wildlife or weirdos or anything off color with the trail. Everything was on the up and up. You can rent bear canisters from Bluff Mountain if you want to, but we just used regular dry food bags and hung them using, you know, the bear system, which there are lots of videos here on YouTube that show you how to do that. Our first practice was the first time we actually hung the food, and it went pretty easily. So it's definitely possible. The canisters, I think, might be a lot easier because finding a tree limb that is accessible to you to throw your rock bag over, but not like way out in the middle of the woods, but that's like 200 yards from your camp. And like, there's lots of logistics to finding a place to hang the bear bag versus using the bear canister that you just strap to the tree. But I think it's 6 one way, half a dozen the other. The canisters are kind of expensive, but like I said, you can rent them. But yeah, it just all kind of depends on what you want to do. We did talk to several thru hikers on our last night, and they don't hang their bear bag. They don't use a bear canister. They just put their food outside of their tent. And they kind of explained it that if a bear is trying to get to the bear bag up in the tree and it can't, it might get upset. And then their reasoning was that it was going to come to the next available resource, which is the humans inside the tent. So they just put the food outside the tent, accessible, so that if the bears want it, they can take it. We, on the other hand, were very nervous about not having food, 15 miles into a 21-mile trail. So we opted to hang ours, and we got, the full trail experience by having to do that. But bear boxes are available at most of the shelters, and they are super easy and convenient. I think that that's about it for the random details that we were looking for before we headed out on the trip. If you have any other particular questions, let me know. Drop them below and I will answer you as quickly as possible. In our research, we were only finding section hike videos of this particular section almost a year old. So I'm hopeful that this little video is helpful, and yeah, enjoy. All right, so we technically just started. We hiked to the top of Max Patch, and that was whatever my watch says, then the screenshot. And then we officially got on the trail, 0.2 miles ago, and I had to pee so bad. So as soon as we got into the clearing, did that, made some adjustments. That first little mile up to Max Patch and to the actual official start had some kinks with our pack, so we had to work those out. How you feeling, babe?
Good. Readjust.
All right, feeling good. Back already hurts. No surprise there. But yeah, ready to go. Oh yeah, so pack check-in. My pack ended up being between 28 and 30 pounds, depending on what I have in it, like sleeves. How heavy was yours?
36.
36. Strongman competition here. All right, we are gonna keep it moving. Our goal today is to get to
Walnut Creek.
Or Walnut Mountain. Walnut Mountain.
Something
A shelter. The second shelter on the trail. It's about 7.5 miles. So here we go. First casualty found is spilled creamers. Okay, so we have ended the hiking for the day. We did just over 8 miles. We got to our destination, though what we thought was going to be Walnut Mountain Shelter, and we got here, and much to our surprise, there was no shelter. So we were a little confused, and we watched a million videos before we came, and so we knew that the water source was 1/10 of a mile away, so we kept it moving 1/10 of a mile. We got 2/10 of a mile before we were like, this feels not right. So we came back up. So we hiked an extra almost half mile. No shelter. I was able to get signal enough to Google it, and they have removed it. They removed it back in March. So we were watching, we couldn't find any like really current videos on this section of the trail. So makes sense that we didn't know, and we didn't think to check the AT website before we came. So now we know. But we were not the only ones. There's a group of Florida folks and then a solo dude, and they didn't know about the shelter either. So we're in good company. So we are all set up, and we are here. I have my chef. Got the jet boil going. I made these cool like food cozies. We made MRE style rice and beans, the skirka beans. If you're familiar with backpacking, you're probably familiar with them, but he has a lot of recipes on his website, so we are doing that. And then you put them in these like little cool bags that I made, and instead of boiling it the whole time, it holds the temperature. And we checked it the other night. We did a test check, and it was 188 degrees, and then it went down 70 degrees after over an hour. So, and it was still quite warm, so it's like 120 even after an hour. So pretty excited to see how this goes. I definitely now know why people immediately go to bed with the sun when they're hiking. It's been a good day, but it's also been a long day. The last mile and a half was quite difficult. I think it was like every 1/10 of a mile I stopped and took a break. And yeah, we did run across a creek, which there's lots of little stream crossings, and I soaked my feet for a bit and refilled my water, and that was really refreshing. It was very nice. The water was nice and cold. My left foot is giving me some issues. Started right after mile 1. So with every step I take, it's really sharp pain. So it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, I think that's really it for day 1. Brandon got everything set up for the tent. We're cooking dinner now, and I don't foresee a late evening, which I'm excited about. It's a bit windy. It's a little chilly. My watch died on mile 7, which was really annoying, but temperature's definitely dropping. Do you have anything that you would like to add? How much fun are you having?
A lot. It's awesome.
How many out of 10?
11.
It's because I'm here. Our campsite right back there. We are scouting a spot for the bear hay. You kind of get a peek of the sunset way out there in the Blue Ridge. As you can see, it's quite windy. And then we have a Yeti in his natural element. There we go. Good morning from the mountain top. Sunlight's happening over there. Here's our tent set up. There's Brandon in his camos. We slept, but it was super duper windy. At around 4, I was just awake. I mean, it doesn't help that you go to bed so early too. We were like in the tents and the sleeping bags at 8 after dinner. And so we knew that we would wake up really early because 8 hours of sleep, yada yada. But I was like wide awake at 4, couldn't sleep, and I checked the weather, and it was saying 15-mile-an-hour winds, and then we were having up to 30-mile gusts. So we were a little nervous. I mean, you can see it's very tree-y. There's lots of trees here, lots of limbs. You know, after going through Hurricane Helene, it was definitely caused a bit of an anxiety. We had our food strung up like 200 yards away in a tree, and because it was so windy, we were just a little nervous that like the buckles were gonna come apart, or what have you. It's the first night on the AT, so it was definitely a fitful night of rest, but there were several times that we each woke up and heard the other one breathing, so, well, hopefully breathing, but snoring. But yeah, so we took it kind of slow. Once the sun came up, made some coffee, we are getting packed up. Brandon's been practicing for this. He has packed and unpacked his bag 90 times at home. This is the first time on the trail. How are you feeling? Confident?
Huh? Yep.
Okay. Yeah, so we just have coffee. We're gonna kick it down the trail, get out of this wind tunnel because it's still extremely windy up here. So like the idea of sitting and trying to enjoy breakfast is just not possible. Oh, but I want to tell you, if you're watching this video because you're going to do the trail, we went down to the water. The water was dried up, so there's no amenities here. There are lots of campsites and decently flat, and they're kind of spread out, which is nice. But back that clearing there is where the shelter used to be, and so you come from this way and the trail continues back down here, and there are more this way. There are more campsites down in that general area, and also back there's a side trail there. Anyways, okay, catch up in a bit. What is up, crew? We just had lunch at Bluff Mountain. We had to forego breakfast. One, because it was so windy at Walnut Mountain. Two, there was no water at Walnut Mountain, so we could not make oatmeal. And it just worked out. So we just stopped, ate on these rocks here. So if you look this way, that's the trail. There's something down here. I think it might be the top of Bluff Mountain, but we haven't meandered out there. And then you come from this way. But yeah, so we just chilled. I think that the area from Lemon Gap to the top of Bluff Mountain is the strenuous section. Clearly we have not done the rest of it yet, so it might get more strenuous or have more sections of strenuity. I don't know if that's a word, but that was definitely a doozy. I had to stop a ton to catch my breath. But it wasn't impossible, clearly, because we made it. I still haven't figured out how to use my hiking poles, but they're cool. All right, we're gonna keep it moving. The goal today is to get in or around, what is it? Deer Park? Deer Park Shelter. We don't have high hopes because we were counting on all the amenities from Walnut Mountain, and they didn't have it.
I think this at least has a shelter.
Yeah, this one might actually at least have a structure, but
That's
yeah.
what we're gonna use it, though.
Yeah, feeling good. Now we're gassed up. We do still need to find some more water. We did create a water like dam in the middle of the trail where a little tiny trickle was coming, so we got like each 16 ounces water thereabouts, so just enough to hopefully get us through to the next one. All right, well, see you later. I just got pooped on by a bird. I get all my glasses. Good morning. It's probably like 7:45. We are at the Deer Park Shelter. We're the only ones that stayed here last night, but there are 4 other campers down in a campsite at the end of the little shelter road. But yeah, let's go get our food from the bear box and make some coffee. This is where we get our water. Good morning. We slept great last night. The weather was perfect. There wasn't a whole lot of critter noises, which I was thankful for. The ground was flat. The wind was almost non-existent compared to the night before. It was, by all accounts, a glorious evening of sleep. We did go to bed like really early, so that's abnormal for us at home. We don't go to bed at like 8:39. So we definitely woke up really early. And last night was the super moon, and I had just really fallen asleep, so Brandon didn't wake me up, but he said it was really cool. He could see like right above the camp. But yeah, so right now we're just working on filtering water, made some coffee, and we're gonna actually have breakfast today because we have the water source I showed you earlier walking down to the bear box. We have lots of water, so we're gonna actually make oatmeal with protein in it. And yeah, we only have a little over 3 miles today, which before this trip I would never have looked at a hike as only 3 miles. I would have been like, 3 miles, there's no way. And now I'm like, oh yeah, only 3 miles, yeah, that's like easy, cinch. So we'll see how long that like outlook lasts. But so yeah, good night's rest, breakfast, coffee, and we can take our sweet time because we can't check into our Airbnb until 3 o'clock, and it's like 8:15 right now. So if that, so we have plenty of time. Our average was about 28 minutes, 30 minutes for a mile on like nice, even chill ground. The ups and downs, we were definitely hitting almost an hour a mile. I had to stop so often, but we made it. That's the important part. But yeah, so today should be fairly straightforward hike. We did run into several through hikers last night, which that was fun to like pick their brain and talk to them. They started in Maryland and did they go Katahdin to Maryland and then they got off because of the storm?
Something, yeah. I can't remember exactly.
Anyways, they were in the middle of their through hike last year and they had to get off because of Helene, and so they'd just gotten back on in September. And they're going southbound. So they're
300 miles left.
They have 300 miles left. They're heading to Springer Mountain. So that was cool to talk to them. So shout out to Mystic Garden, Tree Nut, and do you remember? Mm-hmm. I'm so sorry, I don't remember the fourth girl's name, but shout out if you watch this video. But yeah, so we're just doing the chores and gonna break camp and then mosey to Hot Springs. Doesn't seem like there's a whole lot going on there, so who knows. What I do know is that we have a hot tub, so that is getting used. My calves are extremely tight. When I tried to get up out of the tent this morning, it was pretty comical. There's lots of stumbling around, but they're feeling better now, just walking around. But yeah, overall, I think a good night's rest really does a lot for the soul. But I was just going to show you the snacks that I have. I haven't eaten any, but we made like nut bag snacks. But these guys, if you don't eat meat and you like jerky, I know it's kind of an oxymoron, but I just found this brand. It's called Agro. It's vegan jerky, grilled teriyaki flavor. This stuff is amazing. I've been eating it for lunch every day. And then these little high protein bars from Aldi have been legit too. This is what we had for breakfast yesterday. It's kind of funny because when we first got on trail in Max Patch, we thought that we would be able to get breakfast in Hot Springs, and that wasn't the case. So we got on trail without having breakfast, which probably a bad idea, but we just stopped early for lunch. It was fine. And then yesterday we couldn't have breakfast because we didn't have any water and we were in a wind tunnel. So 2 days with no breakfast, which we don't really eat a lot of breakfast at home anyways, so it was okay. But hiking strenuous trails, not eating, probably not the best idea, but we made it work. And anyways, all that to say, these things at lunchtime have been lifesavers. Whatever mountain we're on top of it, on the ridge lengths. You can see, oh, Yeti. You can see both montañas. They're pretty bees. So we are about 3/4 of a mile until the end. You can see the town a little bit. I mean, you probably can't, but there's like town down there. You can hear dogs barking and stuff. So we are finishing up the trail. We were just talking about it and we did the math, like the rough math. And so from Lemon Gap to Hot Springs, challenging for sure. Lots and lots of ups and downs. And like the coming from our shelter today, it's hard to tell, but this goes, it's a fairly decent steep grade. Coming from our shelter at Deer Park, we had a pretty massive uphill starting out, and then it's been pretty chill, and then you're on top of the ridge for a while, which is cool. You could see both mountains. Challenging on the back end. We were a little spoiled the first 6 or so miles, and we thought that we had it. We were like, wow, we're really good at this, and then humbled for sure. We're looking forward to pulling into Hot Springs and going to the hot tub. But I just wanted to let you guys know that the last little bit is similar to the rest of it. Yeah. So we've officially finished. We are sitting at the river. We're waiting to check into our Airbnb. We can't get in until 3. We got off trail right at like 11:59, and so we've just been chilling down here, looking at the river. Brandon dunked in the water. So the only thing I think that we discussed that we would do differently is like our pillow situation was a little funky. We had like the inflatable pillows, and it really hurt my ear, which is weird. We would bring something to do because we didn't bring like books or crossword puzzles or sketchbooks or anything. So we didn't have anything to quote unquote do in the way of entertainment, which I think is partially the point of doing something like this. But yeah, other than that, my feet definitely took a beating. My calves are on fire today. Not so much on fire, they're like sore. I feel like the thing that from doing this 20-ish miles, it was definitely grueling in some areas, and I felt like every time I'd look up, the hills were just constantly going up, and I thought, like, how much longer can this possibly be? And turns out it can be a long time. But slow and steady wins the race. I had to take breaks, like, a lot. I think it's kind of like once you're in it, and there's no turning back. The only way out is through. It's like all those little sayings really ring true when you're in that type of scenario. You don't need as much as you think you're going to need. When you pass water, get it. And perseverance is a hell of a thing when you have to do something. And like, any progress is progress. And I think that I will be able to take that experience and apply it to other things, and just incremental progress is moving toward the goal. So I think that that's awesome. I'd say overall it was, I don't know if like fun is the word that I would use to describe it. There were definitely fun parts of it. There were very, very challenging parts of it. But it's a big sense of accomplishment. And it's interesting because I've had this goal of doing a portion of the AT on my to-do list since I was about 18, so it's been on there for a really long time. And one of the thru hikers we were talking to last night had said that a lot of thru hikers, when they reach Katahdin, they don't want to go up to the summit because that's the end of this goal that they've put so much time and effort into, and they just don't want it to end. And there's a small bit of that, like, it's done with now. And it's just interesting to be in that phase, like when, just 2 hours ago I was like, oh my God, fighting for my life on the uphills, and I was like, how is this possible? The other thing is that my ankles are equally very loosey-goosey but strong, because there were so many moments that I almost rolled my ankle, like, very seriously, and I would catch myself. There's lots of areas of the trail where it's narrow, and at one point I accidentally dropped my water bottle, and it slid down the hill and went right to the very edge before like, if it would have slid off, I would have been SOL. And then really the only other mishap is like the creamer on day one when I crushed it in my food pack. Was there any other, short of rolling my ankle 1,700 times? I mean, I tripped no less than 75 times. I will say, I told Brandon, I was like, oh, if I was to give you a trail name, it would be Mountain Goat, because he was just like, no problems whatsoever, which kind of turned into Chug, because he's like a train chugging along, because he would like be smoking and somehow still lapping me as I'm dying, leaned over on my walking poles. I did figure out the walking poles in the end, and they did prove to be helpful, so I think I will be keeping those. And yeah, all in all, I'd say it was a success. We had a good time, and just feeling very proud. Forgot to mention that Brandon said that if I had a trail name, it would be
Trips.
Because I trip all the time. And everything trips me out. I get scared about everything, so dual meaning. It's kind of wild to think that this thing that brings us so much joy and solitude and serenity is what rose up and absolutely decimated all these small towns along the Appalachian Trail. There's some Helene wreckage right there. Yeah, kind of wild to think that probably this entire area was just a raging river.